Tonight on Trading Shots, we talk about TK's first win since New Orleans, analyze some of the key performances of Stage 2 playoffs, and see if some coaching can cure Luminosity's ills. Merck here, joined alongside the Denim Twins. It's Maven and Benson. Let's get to it. It's time for First Blood. Stage 2 playoffs are a wrap, and what a weekend it's been. Upsets, sweeps, clutch plays. There's been plenty of Call of Duty action on display. Team Kaliber has locked in their first win since New Orleans after a second best of 5 against Rise Nation. Can TK capitalize on this renewed focus at Champs, or will they lose their momentum? Clint, you miraculously won last week, so you're up first.
Thank you. It's a combination of things for Team Kaliber. I'll give you the serious answer first. There were a lot of teams that came in as, let's say, strong respawn team but struggled in Search and Destroy. TK was one of them. They've been very, very good in Hardpoint, but their Search kind of 50-50 over the course of Stage 2. They go 4-0 to kick it off. I think they end 4-2, but they had a distinct improvement in Search. And the other thing that stands out, it has really been the Kenny and accuracy show for the most part for this team throughout the course of the year. Pharaoh had the best event of his career. I know it's a short career. It's his first year. But to win Stage 2 playoffs and play the way he did was spectacular. The other side of this coin, a very long time ago, after New Orleans, this bald idiot somehow put a curse on TK, saying they wouldn't win an event again. On the hot mic, after Anaheim, I revoked it. I took it back. I told Kenny it was done. I actually can't believe that the first event after that, they come out and win. I know there's nothing to it. I don't believe in curse. I don't believe in juju, but it's hysterical. I just can't believe the stars align and they get that victory after the curse apparently fades. It was an incredible win for Team Kaliber.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that's what it was either, but Ben, what do you think about TK and their win?
Hey, man, you never know. It could be the curse. But before I talk a little bit about TK, I actually want to give someone an award here. It was an actual first in Call of Duty esports history, and the award actually goes over to Maven for what is probably the worst ever caster prediction in the history of Call of Duty esports. You said OpTic Gaming was going to win the event, and they finished stone dead last. That's never happened in caster predictions ever. So, Maven, congratulations to you. I know you lifted the TK curse on the so hopefully your predictions get a little better.
I didn't think
Only one event left.
I didn't think they'd look like 4 enables on the map in Search and Destroy. I mean,
it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. But either way, congratulations to you, Maven. A solid prediction there.
Hey, I agreed with him. I agreed. I'll take the blame as well.
Well, in terms of TK,
turns out Hardpoint can't carry you the whole way.
Right? Search and Destroy. Search and Destroy does win championships.
They didn't win a Search. They didn't win a CTF.
Mind blown. Either way, for TK, Search and Destroy wins championships. Just said it. That was the case for them. They looked flawless in the game mode up until essentially the grand finals were. Enable, I'm sorry to do it to you, buddy, but it's just not good enough. It really isn't. The fact that your team is able to play teams that close is mind-blowing. 3v4.
But the way he bounced back was impressive, right? Like, after those searches.
Unbelievable. In terms of respawn, so composed. And that's what you're going to get from a veteran who's been competing in esports for pretty much his entire life, right? You know you're going to have those good performances. But it has to be said, if you want to guarantee that COD Champs win, maybe not guarantee, but you want to increase the chances, Enable has to grind Search and Destroy, has to improve on that. That's the one area where, yes, even though the statistics look great, still against the likes of Rise Nation, you saw kind of the cracks appear. But it must be said, Clint touched on Pharaoh. Unbelievable. That guy was sensational. Obviously, in the post-game interview, he gave a lot of love to accuracy, saying, I've just listened to what they've told me to do, and that's why I'm the player I am now.
One question for you, Ben. I'm just curious your thoughts, because I know how I feel about it. If Rise took that Game 4, it goes to a Game 5, who's winning?
Rise.
I think so, too. I think they had to end it there, and props to TK. They looked incredible. They ended the series, but, yeah, I still have worries. Now, I know I mentioned they improved in Search and Destroy, but I agree with you. It still is a vulnerability, though. They do need to continue to improve and be more consistent in that game mode, find ways to help Enable, or just find ways for the other 3 to go to carry mode. I know you have some superstars that can absolutely do it. We saw that, obviously.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm going to give you guys both 1 point. You brought up some great suggestions about Team Kaliber. I will say, though, for Enable, it's just Valkyrie Search and Destroy. So maybe he has to make some improvements. When they played Forest, he looked a lot better. I'm not too worried. When he played St. Marie over the weekend, they were fine. That's not the issue, but we'll see if Enable can improve his Valkyrie Search and Destroy. But it was a wonderful weekend for Team Kaliber. The whole team contributed. The respawn was on top of its game. Let's see now if they can carry it into Champs. EUnited has always shown some promise, but can never seem to make it across the finish line. They had quite a showing in Stage 2 playoffs this weekend, only to get taken down by Red Reserve. Maybe instead of Maven's curse, we're now seeing Benson's blessing. Is EUnited a top-tier team, or will the wheels fall off once again. Ben, let's hear what you got to say.
You know, obviously, I had a ton of faith in EUnited going into the playoffs. I don't want to say...
Yeah, you picked them as your winner.
I did. I don't want to say I was necessarily wrong, because I was definitely more correct than Maven's prediction. But still, EUnited, you look at how they performed in terms of their game types. It was even Stevens across the board. 4-4 in hardpoint, a 2-2 S&D, and 2-2 for CTF. So a very weird record, really, for the squad. But the one thing to really note for the EUnited squad, and this is what really gives me a lot of hope for them come Call of Duty World Championships, Clay. Clay was just back on form, man. He was having some of those maps where you're like, this reminds me of old school Clay. This reminds me of the true leader Clay can be. Don't get me wrong, still a ton of room for improvement. And I think the next 2 weeks, you'll see the EUnited squad improve. Will they finish top 4 at champs? After seeing some of the cracks really exploited at playoffs, I'm honestly not too sure.
I think Clay was great. You know, he did obviously have 2 really poor hard points to get knocked out. But when you think about who knocked them out, they lose to what? Rise Nation and Red Reserve.
Yeah. 2
absolutely elite teams. So are EUnited now in my, like, tier 1 of teams going into champs? Absolutely, they are. But like we mentioned, Team Kaliber came in kind of hot in the respawn modes and then improved in search. The problem, I guess I would say, for someone like EUnited, you were, what, 17-6 or something absurd like that when you think of what they were in the second half, the final 2 weeks for Stage 2, when you talk about respawn, CTF and hardpoint combined. So then they get to 50-50, and that's just not going to get it done. That's what's carried them. They've never been like an excellent search team. They float around 50-50 for that. When you end up, like you said, even Steven across everything, that's not going to win tournaments. But are they in my tier 1 with a team with a chance to make a run at champs? Absolutely. Just part of me thinks, you know, they can only go as far as it's like the whole body of work. Everyone needs to be performing. As soon as you have a really rough performance from Brasini or Clayster falls off through some hard points, it doesn't seem like they get the wins. When they are winning, when they are dominating teams, I feel like it's really one of the better all-around team efforts than we see from most teams. All 4 guys are firing. It's objective by committee. They make the plays together. The pacing's on point. I just think in order for EUnited to win, they have to play the best imaginable Call of Duty they are capable. They can't slip at all. Whereas some of the other teams, maybe like a Rise Nation, I think they can still squeak out some series, even if they're not at 100%. EUnited has got to be at 100% in my eyes.
I think the key is what you mentioned. Look who beat them at Stage 2 playoffs, right? You're losing to 2 of the top teams in the game. Whether, you know, you look at TK now, you're Stage 2 champs. How that series would go, not too sure. But I think there's definite room for improvement, to your point. They need to have that one game mode that you can really rely on when you go into a best of 5. But, Clint, I might have to completely agree with you. For them to come out and win champs, they need to all play the best Call of Duty they've probably ever played in any of their
I just think they have less room for mistakes than a lot of teams. And maybe I'm calling that wrong. It's just kind of how I feel about it. They don't have as much room for error.
All right, so both of you guys have a lot of strong opinions on EUnited, but I'm going to give that point to Maven. The reason is, Ben, I think this team is going to get top 4 at champs. The reason is the only teams they lose to, Red Reserve and Rise Nation, who hopefully you don't see until Saturday night, Sunday morning at a CWL championship.
Hopefully.
and again, if you look at Sunday at playoffs, there was 2 players who really stuck out to me that didn't show up. It was Arcees, it was Clayster. Their go-to game mode was hardpoint. They were so good at it all weekend, but that Sunday morning they fall short, and it was really just due to their ARs.
I actually heard Clay and Arcees talking outside after Saturday night, and I believe Arcees said to Clay at one point, he goes, "Hey, neither of us gone negative in a hardpoint yet." Clayster was like, "I actually didn't win," but Arcees hadn't. We showed a stat, like a lower third going into that series, that he had, what, like a 1.28 in the hardpoint, the highest at playoffs, and then he goes back-to-back negative. So it wasn't just Clay, it was Arcees as well, but that's the problem. Like, some teams can afford to have an off series from a player and still squeak out wins. I just don't know that EUnited can. Now, do I think they can make a run? Yes, but they just have to be on point.
Arguably the most recognizable name in the CWL, OpTic Gaming, has faltered once again, losing to FaZe and then getting blown out by EUnited in the losers bracket. It's the first time in 5 years that Scump has gone negative at an event. Will they be able to pull out of this tailspin next month, or is OpTic Gaming legacy coming to an end? Clint, what do you think?
I still think they can make a run, but it comes down to this. 2, 3, and 5.
Are you serious?
2, 3, 5. This is where it's tough. Like, we know they're great at hardpoint. We know what they can do, but they come into playoffs, they don't win a single search. They don't win a single CTF. It's just embarrassing. Now, I guess one thing that made me feel good about their chances to improve, because I think S&D is one of the harder things to improve on, because the teams don't scrim it a lot. It's just something that comes natural to a lot of players. But we did see a team like Team Kaliber that's been 50-50 in search, and they improved big time for Stage 2 playoffs. That's a big part of why they can win. So we saw that it's possible. Now, do I think OpTic Gaming are winning champs? Hell no. With the shape they were in after this particular tournament, where the morale is, I think it's going to be so hard. But do they have a chance to make a run? I mean, how can you say no? There's so much talent on the roster. They can light it up at any time. But 2, 3, 5. What improvements can they make over the next 2 weeks?
Ben, you are obviously had a lot of words to say. I heard you over there. Come on, go ahead.
Honestly, Joe, where's everyone that roasted me in the Twitch chat, the YouTube comments? Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea.
The closet OpTic to Benson.
Exactly. Well, guess what? I'm out the closet now, and it was a reality check for a lot of you Green Wall fans. The team massively underperformed. How are you not going to win a CTF? A team that can slay that heavy, a team with such good IQ as well. That's the key. That's what really bugs me about the OpTic Gaming squad. They're very, very smart players. The search and destroy, I mean, come on. That's just not good enough. The entire team, to me, looks kind of confused. Methods, to his credit, had a fantastic
He was a beast.
For Scump, that's his worst ever event. I think it's the first time he's gone negative in, what, like 6 years?
5
Scump's been so unbelievably consistent, but I don't know what happened. And what the one saving grace, the one grain of hope I think Green Wall fans can have is I think Seth is pissed off. I think one of two things is going to happen. OpTic Gaming is going to roll over and die, or Scump is going to say, no, not like this. And he is going to have the biggest fire that he's ever had underneath him heading into the Call of Duty World Championships. Is that fire, is that flame enough to see them walk away with another championship? No.
Guys, listen, it's a lot because it's OpTic Gaming. We expect a lot for them, so I'm going to give a point to Benson. Now, there was a lot of information there, and I want to dissect a little bit. Ben, with some of the things I like that you brought up, well, first was Octane. I feel like he's sort of going under the radar right now. Yes, Scump didn't perform, but Octane was taking over games on Luminosity. I haven't seen that. I've seen it at times. I've seen it at moments. Sure. Absolutely. But I haven't seen that on OpTic Gaming. Now, for Scump, here's the big thing. Maybe the fire is extinguished, but I'll tell you what. Scump is a guy. He's got a bit of an ego, right? It's a good ego. He's been good for so long. The guy is going to bring it at champs, and I'm going to tell you why. He never wants to be the reason, never, ever wants to be the reason why his team lost. He felt that for the first time in a long time.
He literally tweeted, I suck.
And I can guarantee you that will not happen again. He is not the guy to say, you can put that one on me. It's not going to happen at champs. But as you guys said, a disappointing weekend for OpTic Gaming. We'll see if they can turn around at champs. The last team we're going to talk about is Rise Nation. Rise has lost after being back-to-back champs in Seattle and Anaheim. Will the league favorites be able to pull it together? Or cracks are they finally starting to show for Rise Nation? Ben, let's hear it.
You know, it's interesting. There was TK who failed to get a three-peat that managed to stop Rise Nation's three-peat, right?
Right.
He denied that history completely. And I feel like Rise Nation's pretty damn upset about that, to be completely honest. But to your point, they do look human, right? Coming in, I know a lot of people outside of myself and Maven who really, I guess we just didn't really want to tell the story of Rise Nation being such a dominant force. But God, did they look good at times. Gunless, fantastic. TJ, wow.
They all had their moments.
Some of the best performances you've seen in a long time, but they did look human. And that was what was very scary, is TK, for I think probably the second time this year, if you go all the way back to the beginning, made Rise human beings. And it kind of sat there and you watched the series and you thought, I haven't seen Rise get beat like this in some period of time. However, it must be said, losing like that, I saw Slasher walk off the stage, he walked away. That is a player who, very much how you were referring to Scump, when he loses, doesn't take losses very well. And I know heading into champs, he is going to be so desperate for revenge against Team Kaliber. However, the flip side to that argument, of course, is you look at the last 2 years, the way things have gone. The team that won the Stage 2 playoffs ultimately then went on to win COD Champs due to how close they are. So TK probably heavy favorites going in, but Rise Nation, oh, they want some sweet revenge.
Yeah, I don't even know if I agree with that last line. I still think, regardless of this outcome, I would look at Rise as still your favorite for champs. I mean, they've been the most consistent team over the last 3 months. They have 2 victories. They made it to a grand final. Honestly, is Slasher probably a little frustrated? I think so, because, you know, he said a couple times in the past, like, I'm the best player that hasn't won an event. You know, he felt he got costed at champs a couple years ago. And that's kind of how this grand final felt. Like, TJ and Gunless, Looney kind of going off to get there. But when you look at that second best of 5, think about that first hardpoint on Forest. Like, I felt like Slasher was playing alone. And maybe I'm blowing a little out of proportion, but Slasher was the one that really showed up in that second best of 5. The others disappeared at times. So I think maybe he's frustrated, but it's crazy not to consider them maybe the favorites, if not the favorite for COD champs. They've been the best team for a long time now. I know they lost in that final, having to come through the losers bracket. It's very tough to win 2 best-of-5s over anybody, and I think they just ran into a red-hot Team Kaliber.
Well, here's the other thing. Let's not forget about the Red Reserve matchup as well. Red threw a big part of that match completely away. The losers bracket final, if you remember. They have a 3-0 lead in Search and Destroy and lose 6 rounds back to back to back. That's incredibly impressive. That's actually extremely impressive to think about. That series could have well just sent Rise completely home.
Sure, but so Team Kaliber's your favorite going into champs?
Absolutely. How can they not be your favorite? They just won the last major. We have 2 weeks.
I still think it's Rise Nation for me. Back-to-back wins, then losing, then getting second. They've showed me more over the course of time. I couldn't disagree
with you more. I think TK, once again...
I think TK can do it. I think they look great, but
how can
TK just hot for one weekend? I don't know. We haven't seen that much. It was an incredible win, but I still think Rise have shown us more.
Let's not forget, if Enable, decides to watch School Door or potentially even pick up a couple of kills, that series is done in the first best-of-5. There isn't even a second best-of-5. TJ walked off the stage after the first best-of-5 with the biggest smile on his life. He couldn't believe that he'd just been blessed with a second best-of-5 because Enable, for some reason, just lost concentration. That shouldn't have even gone to a second best-of-5. The fact that you don't have TK as your heavy favorites 2 weeks away.
I think it's crazy. I think it's actually...
Maybe not heavy
I think it's insane to say heavy favorites. I think that's...
maybe not heavy favorites, but favorites. Clint, I think that's...
I don't think they are. I think they're in that Tier 1 list. They're definitely a contender, but
I don't care about Tier 1. We have a ton of Tier 1 teams.
They're not my favorite.
Based off history alone, you're wrong, but okay.
I will say, though, this is tough to give points. I think I'm going to give points to both of you. I think you both bring up some solid stuff. The one thing is I think TK do have to be favorites, just slight favorites, just due to history's past. But if you are Rise Nation, you have to give them props because this is, what, the 3rd or 4th grand final in a row they find themselves in. It is so hard with the competition the way it is to continue to do that, and they take it to a second best-of-5. A lot of teams aren't able to do that, so you have to give their Rise all the props in the world. I think they're going to bring it for champs, and what not a better time. I know it's not the best time to lose, but if you were going to lose an event, it was this one. It wasn't champs. Those guys are going to be so fired up that they're going to bring it. I will say the one thing I hurt Rise the most in the grand finals, just being a little bit too cocky in the vetoes. The fact that we see Arden Forest Hardpoint again. Just so many of the same maps that
the fact it's map 1, the second best-of-5, is what surprised me.
And yes, you beat TK in a couple of London Dosh Hardpoints. I didn't expect them to change it, but you knew that TK was going to get hot on one of them. I'm surprised we didn't see some veto changes from both teams. However, it was TK who beat Rise Nation in that grand final. We'll see if Rise are going to be able to bring it here at Champs. Now for our last segment, the last chance to score some points. It's tied up. It's time for the grand finals. Last week, Slack said on Twitter that Luminosity was looking for a coach for Champs. Would some new leadership put LG on the right path, or will Formal in the game crash and burn again? Clint, Formal is your favorite player, so we're going to start with you.
Well, let's start on coaches. Did Team Kaliber or Rise Nation have a coach, Joe?
No.
Oh, they're in the grand final. How odd. EG has a coach. OpTic have a coach. Doesn't seem to be helping all that much. And this isn't a knock to coaches as much as when you think about how this esport works. Let's think major sports. All right, let's think of something like the NFL. The NFL, we have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They're calling out plays. They're really invested in it. Or something like basketball, where you're calling plays up and down the court, timeouts, so on and so forth. I view COD, with the way coaches are involved now, more as like, let's say, soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. They basically set your lineups and have a strategy going in, but once the gameplay actually starts, you rely on those 11 players to make the plays. They can't interject themselves much at all. They can scream a bit, but they can't do that much for the players. So no matter how good your coach is when it comes to Call of Duty, once you start playing, once you get in those 2v2 late round situations in Search, there is nothing that a coach can do for you. So I don't give a if they give a coach or not. I don't think it's going to make a difference whatsoever.
All right, well, Clint with some strong stuff right there. Ben, what do you think?
You know, first of all, I'm going to touch on Clint's mini rant, if you will, about coaches. I do actually disagree, and I think a prime example is actually Brian Saint from EUnited. I think he's done a very, very good job about just taking over control of vetoes, which we've seen teams like LG, really, really struggle with. Just, you look at a game, you're going as a caster, and you're thinking, have they even done their research? Like, what is going on here? Brian Saint does a really good job for that with EUnited. However, you are totally right. Once the game starts, the coach isn't allowed on the stage, so ultimately the coach is sat there, fingers crossed, praying, watching like everybody else. However, I think the prep work really does add a lot to a team, especially some teams that really do need it. Does the likes of Rise Nation need a coach? Probably not. Does the like of LG need a coach? Well, unless it was our wonderful host, Joe DeLuca, wink, wink, then
oh, he's trying to get brownie points, Joe. Get that out of here.
I'm not really sure because you have
That's a great answer.
No.
You have to look at the likes of JCap.
I'm being cheated. I'm going to be cheated out of the
You're
win.
not being cheated out of anything. You have to look at the likes of JCap. Does JCap need a coach? We're talking about one of the most experienced players ever. Does he really need a coach? At this point in the game, is a coach really going to help you? No. It's not. Let's be honest. A coach maybe at the beginning of the year, sure. But if you're LG, what have you got to learn? Watch the VOD yourself. At the end of the day, it comes down to simple things with LG, and I don't think coaches are going to solve the simple things. The in-game decisions you've seen LG make mistakes on, mind-blowing.
I coached a team back in Call of Duty Ghost.
That was after...
Yeah, Killa, Saints, Bows, Ricky. It was a mess. It was a Unite team.
Oh,
I went out drinking every night of the tournament. I showed up hungover and basically just made sure they didn't bicker. We got 3rd place.
Elite.
Yeah.
That just means you're a great coach. You just nullified your entire argument because of how good of a coach you really were.
I didn't do anything.
This is tough because I think you both brought up really bad points.
Bad points?
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
Wait, what?
Wait, hold on. I actually have to think about this a second before I declare the winner. Because
how was my point about Brian Saint bad?
You segued into a good thing. Oh, they want me to give the point early on, so I'm going to give it to Ben. Ben, you're going to be our winner for this one.
Just because you said you'd be the coach.
No, here's the reason why. I have to explain why. A coach would help LG, but this is where Ben went wrong. He goes, do you think that LG needs some help in their fundamentals? No, it's too late in the year. Are you serious? That team needs so much help in their fundamentals.
In terms of their in-game decisions?
Yes, absolutely. It's
how's
not
a coach
good.
help with
They
their in-game
didn't even make
decisions?
playoffs. They
1 point for Joe.
Playing fundamentally good Call of Duty.
I won the show
already.
already.
You know who JCap? He needs help. He actually needs help. That is what a coach would do. If he had to argue with someone, the coach is there. It is another mind to help him explain it to these guys how to play, because right now LG does not know how to play. They do need someone else to help them. Their prep work is non-existent, and that is why, because yes, I do think LG needs a coach. Ben, that is why you're our winner. But Clint, I will say this, not every team does need a coach. The problem is every team needs someone to listen to, and if that team isn't going to listen to that person, that is when a coach comes in handy, because you need 2 people to just yell at someone to make a correct play.
You do.
All right, fellas, strap on your A40 ASTRO Gaming headsets, and since Benson, you won, you get to put on that special edition Trading Shots A40 TR headset. With that, it's time for the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by ASTRO Gaming. Ben, take it away.
Thank you very much, Joe. Couple of things to say. First of all, apologies, TK. We massively underestimated you, and you guys played fantastic at Stage 2 playoffs. Secondly, again, at the Green Wall fans, I actually pity some of you. My mentions were hilarious. I know Clint was having a good old laugh at some of the tweets that came through my way. Where are you now? Haven't heard from you for a couple of days. You're pretty damn quiet, pretty strange to see. Thirdly, as well, I want to give massive love to all of the players, the staff that have made CWL what it has been so far. We have one final event of the year left, the big one. I'm so excited. I know everyone else is so excited. It's been a wonderful year, and I want to thank everyone, including the fans at home, that have made this year so damn special.
Well, that was so nice, Ben. Are you sure there's nothing else? You don't want to yell at anyone? I mean...
You know, I'm good, Joe. I think you've done fantastic this year. You've grown, which is fantastic as talent. Maven, I mean, he's still, making bad predictions. But what can you do? It's been a good year so far, Joe.
All right, so Benson with a lot of positivity right there. I love it. The Denim Bros, they were here. It was a great game. But that is going to do it for us at Trading Shots. Shots were traded. CWL was debated. We'll see you next time.